Dave Matthews Band is our featured band all season long on Saturday Night Football, including songs from their new album, Big Whiskey and the Grugrux King, as we welcome you back to Lincoln for Saturday Night Football, presented by Southwest Airlines. And our score is the Huskers 7 and the Sooners 3. Well, Ed, we said off the top of the telecast, this is what we expected, and it has been a defensive struggle. There's no question about that.
And now the thing I think for Oklahoma, you've got to be careful because you haven't been able to block Sue very well. He's now got a halftime of rest. Remember, he had to go out a couple of times because you're in hurry up. Just be careful. Maybe get him running a little bit. Get that whole front running with some screens. Get it out the broils some. Don't let him take it over.
Something else that we'll take a closer look at as Oklahoma comes on offense. They are getting very thin in the offensive line. Here's the kick. It's going to go 4 yards deep, and it'll be returned. Madu. Well, let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary halftime stats.
Well, if you like offense, turn your head. This is not pretty. 80 yards total for Nebraska. They made a change at quarterback. They came out and started with the true freshman Cody Green. He did not look great, so Zach Lee came in, but that 63 of those 80 came on that Helu run.
Well, this is Brown, and he'll have a couple, but that's about it. And it's Ndamukong Suh. They're not booing, but not surprising. Sue and McCoy, we touted them highly coming off the top of the telecast, and they have not disappointed in the first half. In fact, neither defense, because as you pointed out, they had, what, 17 yards on 23 carries other than the 63-yard run.
And they play so physical up front for Nebraska. You just can't move them.
Necktie. Short yardage again.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of times you see defensive linemen that charge really hard up the field. But if you notice, Sue plays with a really balanced stance because he's so powerful in his hands and lower body that he doesn't have to really lunge forward to knock back the offensive lineman. He can just do it with his hands.
Pressure up the middle. The ball is too high. Intended for DeJuan Miller, and it'll be punting time for the Sooners.
Well, you saw Sue on the play before, how he defends the run. That time on the pass, just so quick off the ball, made a quick swing move and was right in the face of Landry Jones. He had to throw it long before he wanted to.
Sam Bradford on the sideline. You can see that following that surgery that he has his arm in a cast. That kick has barely gotten away. And the tackle made immediately on Niles Paul.
Well, it's just been a dominant night so far for Ndamukong Suh. The blocked field goal, playing the run almost perfectly. Stephen Good just has his hands, and there's a triple team. That's the only way they've really been able to get him off the line, and then does a great job reading the screen, knocking it down, and then gets in and almost gets a sack on Landry Jones.
On the ground. And Helu, who had that long scamper from scrimmage back in the first half, wound up with about 7 yards on that, but Sam Proctor came over to put a stop on him.
Oh, and a blowout game last year as Sean Watson sends in the play with Green standing next to him. After 35-0 in the first quarter, but Nebraska played well. Helu ended up with 157 yards last year. So
puts a head down and trying to move behind that offensive front. And let's see when Aon Pyle, where the linesman was coming in, though, he was not going to have the first down. Proctor and Taylor combining to stop him short of the first down.
And with the inexperience at quarterback, Zach Lee came into the season. He'd only completed 2 passes in his entire career. Of course, Joe Gans graduated, but they knew they were going to have struggles in the pass game.
Straight ahead, Zach Lee with the quarterback sneak. and he will have the Nebraska first down. Running off the block of Jacob Hickman, the senior out of Bakersfield, California, the center, and you can hear the response from the crowd.
And I believe that was the first. Was that the first third down conversion?
Yeah, because he only had 2 first downs.
Yep.
Sean Watson, the offensive coordinator for Nebraska. Hello. There's not much area to run. Adrian Taylor there to make the stop. And as Ed pointed out off the top of the telecast, if you're going to run away from McCoy, then you still got to pay the price, because Taylor is at the other tackle, then Austin English and Jeremy Beal. And these guys amass a huge number of tackles over the course of a season.
Taylor is playing at a real high level. McCoy, obviously the real deal, but Taylor doing a nice job as well.
Jeremy Beal makes the defensive stop, and Roy Hello stopped after a short gain. Is going to be 3rd down, and for them to pick up the first to keep this drive going, they're going to take it inside the Oklahoma 45-yard line. And
that was right tackle Mike Smith for Nebraska, who was slow getting up. He's back in there. He's actually now over at the left tackle, excuse me, but he was slow getting up. Let's see what kind of rush they put over the left side here.
And a stunt and a sack. Keenan Clayton. First time that they have recorded a sack against the Nebraska quarterback tonight.
Well, what a nice job by Brent Venables. I think he saw exactly what we saw. He saw a left tackle that got up slow, so he put 3 guys over him. And he rushed 4 to that side, actually. And even though they had the guard, the running back, and the left tackle, they had 1 more than they could block.
Henry's kick, very high. Broyles from the 18 looks for the sideline and very wisely runs out when the real estate ran out as well. 42 yards in the punt. Let's take a break. Well, 1982, we continued to look at some of the great games in this series. Turner Gill, well, he did this a lot. Scrambles into the end zone, and then the interception. Scott Strasburger with the interception at the end. Number 3 Nebraska defeated number 11 Oklahoma 28-24. This is Murray, and he will be stopped after a gain of about 3.
Well, both of these defenses, when it looks like there's going to be some real estate, it looked like that option was going to break out. But both these defenses, great recovery speed.
Jones on 2nd down. That ball almost picked off, and it was caught. Caught in the play by DeJuan Miller, and the gamble hurt Nebraska, but I'll tell you, he is within a breath of making the pickoff, Ed.
Yeah, Alfonso Dennard broke on that ball. But a little bit of a low snap. Dennard goes in, and Miller does an excellent job. He's a big body guy at 6'4", 224, shielding off the smaller Dennard.
Pumped it twice. Now going to go long near sideline, and the ball is incomplete, and flags come down from 2 different areas as Tennell was the man who was the intended receiver.
Remember, Tennell was the young man who was hurt, and it looked to me like both of them were pushing off, and I'm not going to be surprised if this isn't against Tennell.
Pass interference, number 21 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, they were going back and forth, And Tennell came back. He ran the out and up. Great coverage. Yeah, that's hand fighting between both players. I don't know that you make that call.
Nebraska now 7 penalties for 79 yards. Coach Bellini not in total agreement on that one. This is Murray. Takes it straight ahead. Maybe a couple. Jared Crick making the stop, number 94.
On right tackle, Corey Brandon got up a little slow after that one with the injuries that they've had. Crick working. Now they have him over good, and well, he's hard to push off too, isn't he?
I'm telling you. And look at this hit right here. And that is Ndamukong Suh. And Murray a little slow in getting up.
Yeah, they were blowing it dead. No one could hear the whistle.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 70 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Corey Brandon.
And they've had to move some more bodies in there because we saw Brody Eldridge, who had started at left guard, go out.
His shoulder must have really taken a shot because they were taking him to x-ray him. Have not heard anything as yet. Jones high over the middle, intercepted by Nebraska, and that's O'Hanlon up the sideline to the 45 and finally knocked out of bounds. Second time that Jones has been intercepted tonight.
Well, this is one of those deals where the ball is overthrown, but the receiver, there's O'Hanlon right there. The receiver got pushed inside by the cornerback. I think he got off of the track. That's Miller. I think he got off of the track that Jones was expecting him to be on because the cornerback had pushed him down inside, and O'Hanlon standing over the top just waiting for the ball, and a nice return by O'Hanlon. Found some real estate.
So let's see if Nebraska can take advantage. They had a 63-yard run by Helu in the first half, and they came away with no points because they turned it over. Lee going to try to run, and he gets collared by Travis Lewis. I tell you, you cannot be indecisive. It's like traffic in New York. You cannot be indecisive. You'll get totally run over. Well, the same thing when you're playing a Sooner defense. You know, don't get out there and say, should I go left, right, or right? You better take it on up the field or slide.
Yeah, exactly,
one of the two.
Exactly. Took a little hitch step there before he took off. But I think they need to keep moving the pocket. I like that call by Sean Watson. Get out of the way of this defensive front.
Brooks in motion. Helu tries to turn the corner. And it's Franks. And boy, here come flags down from the backside of the play late.
After the play, personal foul, number 84 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Frank Alexander, that's a big one. And Nebraska getting a little help now, and they may need it.
28-yard line.
Huskers lead it 7-3. Little reverse out by Lee, and he throws the ball complete. That's Kenny, and Kenny to take it inside the 15-yard line and down to around the 13.
Well, this is kind of similar to what Kansas State started doing last week in the second half against Oklahoma, is the bootleg. And Grant Gregory from Kansas State, his biggest plays in that second half were when he was moving out of the pocket. This one, that time Kenny came from all the way across the formation and just mirrored Zach Lee, and Zach Lee threw a nice little softball. Don't throw that hard.
It's the longest pass play of the night. And they have spotted it actually at the 15-yard line. 13 yards on that last play. Helu tries it to the right. There is nothing. At the bottom of that stack is Brian Jackson. You could see the number 2 right there. he made penetration, and that play goes for a 2-yard loss.
Well, I know they had the 163-yard run that was between the tackles, but for the most part, there's just been nothing there. And I know that Sean wants to stay true to that, and he probably should get a couple of in there, but I think it's got to be all misdirection, get Lee rolling out of the pocket with a run-pass option. I just think they have to do almost all misdirection and rollouts the rest of the game.
Lee keeps it inside the 15, down to around the 12, and it's Franks again on a stop.
And the option game is something that Nebraska has had to add a little more in to get some kind of running game going. And now you're in that 3rd and long, 3rd and 6, 3rd and medium. But I think, again, go with the misdirection and maybe Zach Lee rolling to his right again and layer 2 or 3 guys with one guy running with him in the end zone, I think.
Legate, the fullback. The tailback is Robinson. And they fake it to the freshman, pass in the flat. The ball is blocked, and it's Franks who got a hand on it. How many passes have we had batted this evening? I think it's close to a half dozen if you put the two teams together.
Well, the thing that's impressive is when guys are coming unblocked, like that time Franks was coming on a blitz, and how quick they are to realize what's going on. As soon as Zach Lee goes to throw, Franks, who was blitzing, just leaves his feet. Of course, a great athlete, and we've seen that a bunch where guys have great recognition.
All right, so the field goal attempt is going to come from, what are we saying, 18 or 19? Let's call it 19, so a 29-yard attempt. Nailed it. Let's take a timeout. New score, Huskers 10 and the Sooners 3.
Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Go to southwest.com. Grab your bag. It's on. Pacific Life. For insurance, annuities, and investments, choose Pacific Life. The power to help you succeed. And Nissan Maxima, proud partner of the Heisman Trophy.
If you're in this area, there's a new area on the Nebraska campus that they proudly display all the school's football trophies, memorabilia, and they had a ribbon cutting featuring Heisman Trophy winners Eric Crouch, Mike Rozier, and Johnny Rogers. This has been a big weekend as far as legendary names and faces being back on campus. Madu on the kick return. He gets tagged short of the 15-yard line. Well, top AFC contenders fight for conference supremacy on ESPN's Monday Night Football at 8:30 Eastern. It's the Steelers against that tough Denver defense. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern Time. In the flat, it's Brown, and Brown is finally going to be pushed out of bounds after a gain of 10 yards. Matt Weiner in New York, what do you got for us?
Ron, I've got an AT&T All-America Player of the Week update. How about this for a day's work? Stanford's Toby Gerhart carried it 38 times today for 223 yards and 3 touchdowns to help fuel Stanford's upset of Oregon today. To cast your vote, text the word vote to 345-345 from your mobile phone.
Toby Gerhart, we have seen him in person, and the injury, we will get a check on O'Hanlon here. Let's take a break right now. 10-3 Nebraska. Now look at these numbers right here. Last week, Oklahoma's offense, 164 yards rushing, 39 tonight, 2 touchdowns last week, and none this evening, but it's still early. We got 5:26 left in the third. What are your tickets?
That's a world-class mustache right there.
Great headgear also with no face mask. First and 10 Sooners. Here comes pressure. Got it over the middle, and it's incomplete. And that was Murray out of the backfield.
I would not want to be a quarterback in this ball game. These guys have every time they go back, someone is in their face. And this offensive line for Oklahoma that had been struggling all year had to move some guys around again when Eldridge got hurt earlier in the game. And of course, Tavares Jeffries out with a death in his family as well. So you're thin at guard.
Jones over the middle. Ball tipped, incomplete. DeMarco Murray, again the intended receiver, and that was Gomes who came in. The Sooner coaching staff asking for a possible pass interference, but no flag came, and it's 3rd down and 10. James Hanna checks into the ball game. Sophomore out of Flower Mound, Texas. Wears number 82. Sooners are 3 of 12 in 3rd down conversions tonight. Boy, here comes more pressure, and the ball had to be thrown early. And it was Hanna, the man I was talking about, who had just checked in. Gomes was one of those leading the way, but Nebraska was trying to light him up. And that's a lot of pressure on a kid with no more experience than he has.
And Carl Pelini has just called a masterful game. This is an all-out blitz. So you've got man coverage on the outside, and Hanna would have been open if you'd have had time to throw it, but because you get there so quickly, it's not there. It's the risk reward you take, and they got the reward.
Pressure up the middle, and I'll tell you, they almost knocked the blockers back into the punter. This is a dandy, though. All the way to the 15-yard line is Paul, looking for some place to run. Gets a block, 25, and will not get to the 30.
Well, they're going to call a penalty on Gomes, and I think this is a bad call. It looked to me like Gomes got on the side of the defender with his head in front.
60 yards on that punt, 13 on the return.
And I think they're going to get it about the 7.5-yard line. But watch number 7, Gomes. That's not the call there.
Illegal block in the back.
But
number
watch
7 of the return team.
7 on 32. That's not a block in the back. You can hit the guy in the shoulder, but that is not a block in the back. So Nebraska would have had okay field position, and now they're backed way up inside their own 10.
Well, let's take a look at the Big 12 update. Jordan Shipley of Texas today, school record 273 yards and a win over Central Florida. Kansas, 4th consecutive Big 12 loss. And Nick Florence of Baylor, 427 yards passing. Robinson, that's going to be very short yardage.
And with Kansas losing, looks like they're out of the race in the North, and Nebraska controls their own destiny in the North. Kansas State sitting on top at 4-2. Came back from the dead, really. What a nice job by Bill Snyder and his staff. But Nebraska plays Kansas. Iowa State now has 4 losses, so they're out of it. And they play Kansas and Colorado on the way out, so control their own destiny in the North.
Lee. Pitch back goes to Robinson. Robinson puts his shoulder down. Passes a pretty good lick on to Keenan Clayton. We're just talking about what happened today. Here are the standings in the Big 12 North that have been updated. Kansas State, a little surprise there. 4-2 conference play. And Nebraska, Colorado, Iowa State. Probably the one that surprises me the most is Missouri at 1-4.
Well, today losing against Baylor at home. But the crazy thing is Nebraska, because they play Kansas State and Colorado on the way out, they could even lose tonight and still control their own destiny unless you got into a 3- or 4-way tie, and then they'd need some help.
Blitz coming up the middle, and Robinson no place to run. That's Travis Lewis, one of the first people to get there and to close the door. And I'll tell you, when you are in this kind of field position, these guys are pulling out the stops, the 2 defensive coordinators, and saying, okay, beat us if you can, because we're going to have more numbers than you have blockers up front.
A little surprised Roy Halou Jr. was not in the ball game there. Makes me wonder if he maybe took a hit on that shoulder that's been bothering him.
This is the 8th punt of the night for Nebraska. Well, the spiral is turning over, and Boyle's on a run at the 42. And the Huskers will make the stop short of midfield. 48 on the kick and 9 on the return. Well, the race to uncover the greatest mystery mankind has ever faced is on. ABC's Flash Forward. All new on Thursday, 8/7 Central on ABC.
Well, you're starting to get a feeling that Oklahoma at some point needs to answer on offense because of the penalty, the block in the back, penalty on Nebraska's punt return. Henry had a nice punt, but a decent little return, so now you get another good shot at field position. Oklahoma's got to make something happen eventually on offense if they want to win this thing.
Brown has 5, has 10, counted off at about 11 yards. They'll say his knee hit at the 40-yard line, but a big opener, and he slashed very quickly through that hole. Asante is the man who made the stop.
And here's Ndamukong Suh working a double team there.
Well, this one, there was not enough double team on this play as Suh steps up into the hole along with Philip Dillard.
You know, it was interesting talking to Suh last week. Baylor tried to cut block him on almost every single play, and he felt like he started playing a little, with not enough aggression because he was trying to protect himself from going down. Well, he's playing with plenty of that tonight.
Second down and long. This is Brown. Little bit of a counter action. They continue to bring DeMarco Murray across the formation.
Well, and if you notice, the motion goes, and that's Larry Asante who's down.
Brown on this drive, 3 carries for 22 yards. So he has been really big on this series right here. Got plenty of time on the play clock, and they go with the running play, and this time it is Jared Crick who will come over to make the hit on Chris Brown.
Well, when you have 2 guys that are working this well together in the middle, Suh got great penetration on that play, so Crick scrapes off of it to make the tackle. They really are in sync.
Quickly, play action, rolls it to the left, throws the ball out, incomplete. DeJuan Miller is who they wanted. And I'll tell you, DeJuan Miller at 6'4", when we were down there earlier for the Baylor game, they were talking about, the offensive coaches were, that they needed to get him more into the rhythm of what was going on because he's such a big target and can really run well. Jones has missed his last 4 passes. See if he can get this one. He does. Got to complete to Boyles. Boyles goes airborne, but he's short of the first down by a couple.
And I think if you're Oklahoma at 1:27 left in the third, I think you kick this field goal. Looks like they're going to go for it. If you are going to go for it, I think the stretch to the right, misdirection back to the left is the play.
Actually, it's less than 2 yards. 4th and just a little bit over 1. Running play with Brown, and it's whistled down, and it's going to be movement before the snap. And that means that Tress Way will come trotting on the field, the redshirt freshman out of Tulsa.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 71 in the offense, 5-yard penalty.
Of course, that's left tackle Trent Williams, who's struggling tonight with penalties. But I can understand on that 4th and 1. You've struggled in your field goal, felt like they need those points. Now you don't have a choice. And always an adventure with the big guys they have in the middle for Nebraska.
Well, 42-yard attempt. And Ndamukong Suh had a block back in the first half. Good pass from center. He's missed this one.
You know, Jimmy Stevens was perfect, 11 for 11 inside of 40 yards. And Tressway, I guess through practice, beat him out. Would not be surprised at all if that's going to flip-flop and we'll see Jimmy Stevens for the rest of the ball game, because Tressway is struggling. Even the one he made barely snuck in.
Yeah, he did. He kind of squeezed it through on the right side. So you can see the young man obviously very disappointed, as he had one blocked and has missed the other two. And of course, Trent can't be real happy with himself, because that 5-yard penalty that he cost his team, they had to go for the field goal. And you could see Stevens was getting up and going over to start warming up. Lee, keeper, 2 yards. Quentin Carter there to make the tackle. And you look at Stevens as he starts to loosen that leg up.
I don't blame him. Go over there. It's very cold. If you're second string, you probably haven't swung the leg much. In a game like this, you have to figure either Henry or Tressway or Stevens, if he goes in, which I would be surprised if he wasn't the choice for the next field goal or PAT, needs to get himself loose. They're going to play a big factor.
23 seconds. That's all we have left as the clock now begins to run here in the third quarter. Lee looking, still looking, got a pass right over the middle, and Alu makes the reception, and Heller will have about 4 yards on the play. Ryan Reynolds defensively. By the way, Matt O'Hanlon was down for a time, and they helped him off the field. We have not gotten an update, but it certainly did look as though that it was a cramp is what he had, rather than something more serious. That's the end of the third quarter. Let's take a timeout. Huskers 10-3. In honor of Veterans Day, which is next Wednesday, and you could see the flag at half staff here tonight. And of course, they are that way all across the country in respect for the people at Fort Hood in Texas who were killed this past week. And we'll talk more about Veterans Day as this fourth quarter unfolds. Well, that pitch goes to Mike McNeil, the tight end. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
Well, that play right there shows you why these stats are the way they are. 86 yards in penalties and only 112 yards of offense. But the reason this score is at 10-3 is because Amukamura had the interception to the 2-yard line, and then O'Hanlon got one down into Oklahoma territory that resulted in the field goal.
Well, they took too long.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 14 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Pass from center. They did not have the pressure on, and the driving kick hits at the 30, takes a Nebraska bounce away from the receiver, so it'll wind up with a pretty good kick by Henry. So, Ed, as we talk about this fourth quarter and just getting things underway, both of these ball clubs' penalties tonight have just really cut into their efforts. Both coaches not real happy with their ball clubs.
Well, they're both kind of intense guys. Youngstown, Ohio guys who are both in their players' faces. Bob Stoops very upset at Frank Alexander after that penalty. It's worth noting Austin English does not have his helmet, so he may be done for the game. That's why Frank Alexander, after that penalty, didn't come out of the ball game. They don't have anybody to replace him.
bounces off a tackler, bounces off another one, and stepped out of bounds at around the 41-yard line. Boy, that is a heck of an effort, because he was having some good defensive players take a shot at him, and he got by them. Gain of 12.
Murray, a guy who just adds a little different wrinkle. Brown is such a good inside runner, and Murray has really improved his power running. Kevin Wilson talks about how they always work with him because he's such a good player in space, but he's developed his game as a running back as well.
Murray hit inside by Pierre Allen. Now here comes a flag, and there was some late goings-on.
Well, Jarvis Jones and Ndamukong Suh were tangled up way away from the play. And Jones, normally a tackle, having to play guard with Eldridge out.
After the play, personal foul, number 76 of the offense.
Wow.
15-yard penalty, second down.
So take a look at it. You see the double team going on. And Suh continues to be pushed, and then gets pushed one more time.
I mean, you have to stop. You want your players to finish. But at some point, you do have to stop.
That's the second dead ball foul against Oklahoma in this half.
Trent Williams had the first one.
Jones looking up the near sideline, and the ball is caught at the 40-yard line by DeJuan Miller.
Well, this is a nice throw by Jones, and they're hustling up now, Oklahoma, to the line of scrimmage. But he threw it to the back shoulder. He threw it flat, and Miller found it long before the defensive back did. Nice play by DeJuan Miller.
32 yards in the pass play. Play action. Jones wants to throw again. Over the middle. Intercepted. And that is O'Hanlon. His second pick of the night. And the third off Jones.
This ball was thrown high to Ryan Broyles. Broyles, of course, not a tall guy at 5'11". This ball sails just a little bit, and there's O'Hanlon. Second time tonight that O'Hanlon has taken advantage of a high throw. That ball got away from Jones.
Let's take a timeout. 10-3 Nebraska. Well, 1987, as we continue to look at this series between the Sooners and the Huskers. Anthony Stafford, you remember that, the touchdown, and then very quickly Patrick Collins, 65 yards later, number 2 Oklahoma, 17-7 over top-ranked Nebraska. That happened in 1987, and this just happened down on the sideline. Josh Heupel, Oklahoma quarterback coach, talking with his young quarterback, and actually, you know, words of encouragement. See, because you can't have him losing his confidence.
And then look who, and then next came Bob Stoops. Gave him a pat on the chest because he's your guy with Sam Bradford out with shoulder surgery. And, you know, that's a tough part for a quarterback. When a right guard makes a mistake, you get a 2-yard loss. When a quarterback makes a mistake, you get an interception, and it's a turnover. And so this young man has to keep his confidence. He's a very calm guy. They talk about it. He's very steady, very much like Sam Bradford in that way. And they can't lose his confidence. Not a good night so far for him, but they're going to need him to make a play before this thing's over.
Nebraska leads 10-3. We have about to hit 12 minutes left in this ball game. Out in the flat, Hellu, 25 at the 30. That's a first down, and he stays in bounds. And all of a sudden, that's going to start becoming very, very important to eat as much of the clock away as you can. It's good for 15 yards before Proctor stopped him.
And that was a nice job by Niles Paul, who was out on the edge there. Just kept his body in front of the guy who was guarding him, and just that was what broke another 5 or 6 yards for Hellu.
Hellu 3 receptions, 15 yards. Zach Lee 5 of 7 for 35 yards throwing tonight. Under pressure, sack. That's Jeremy Beal.
Well, Beal did a wonderful job defending against the cut block. Helou, the running back, comes over and tries to cut him down. And he just knocked him down and kept his feet. And because there was great coverage behind him, able to get up, make the play, and make the sack.
So it's a 2nd down and 13. We'll play action and look at the pressure on him, and he just throws it away, and very wisely. That was Keenan Clayton. And again, when you're deep in your own territory, they're going to just pull out the stops. Well, did you know that Bob Stoops and Bo Pelini both attended the same high school, Cardinal Mooney High School in Youngstown, Ohio? And I'll tell you what, in visiting with Carl Pelini, who is the brother, of course, of Bo, and the defensive coordinator, the feelings that the entire Pelini family, for that matter, has for the Stoops family and the influence on both of their lives, it's just really tremendous. Long pass, almost intercepted at the 25 by Brian Jackson. But as Carl told the story, he said there were not many classes in Youngstown that didn't have both a Pelini and a Stoops in one of those classes. Well, and it's no mistake that the Stoops brothers and the Pelini brothers, Brian Jackson almost makes an interception, which would have been just like a punt, coach defense, because Ron Stoops, Bob's father, was a defensive coordinator at Cardinal Mooney and such a great man. They all used to go over and watch film, and we asked Bo, would you coach offense if he was an offensive coach? He said, yeah, maybe, but he coached defense, so that's what we do. This is Boyles from the 25, spinning, and he will go down at the 33-yard line. So we'll take a timeout. 10-7, or 10-3, I beg your pardon, Huskers.
Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Go to southwest.com. Grab your bag. It's on. The Ford F-150. Built Ford tough. And Dr. Pepper. Drink it slow. Doctor's orders.
The National Museum of Roller Skating contains the largest collection of historical roller skates dating back to 1819 in the world. Well, Zach Lee got hit by Gerald McCoy really hard in the midsection, and he got up on the sideline and was wincing and doubled over. He's up throwing the ball. Looks like he's going to be okay, but a good clean hit by McCoy. But a hard one. Yes. Those guys don't come back there in a real good mood. Got this one complete. 40, 45 to Marco Murray. And Murray has become such a huge asset as a receiver. You can see how fluid he is when they cross him or if they circle him out, regardless of which. It's 15 yards on the play, and he's going to catch it when you get it close to him. Good protection that time, too. That took a while to develop. Landry Jones to the other side. Murray breaks the tackle. Going to have the first down, plus about 5 more. Amukamari will make the tackle, and it's good for another 15 yards. And Landry Jones has bounced right back. He got a little pep talk from his position coach, Josh Heupel, and his head coach, and that's 2 really nice throws in a row. That one under pressure. Oklahoma with the hurry up. They continue. You can see plenty of time left on the play clock. They still got 14 seconds. Under 10 minutes to play in our ball game. Quick pass and a little misread there as Tennell didn't turn around. Our situation, 10-3, Nebraska on top. Low pass. Picked it up in time, and the ball is thrown too high. That was intended for Trent Rattery. And all of a sudden, you're in a position where you had a nice drive going. Now you've got a 3rd and 10. I think this has a feeling of 4-down territory to me. So I think maybe you look for a screen
Maybe a screen over to Murray, who's lined up in the slot to the right.
Oklahoma 3 of 14 on third down conversions tonight. And now the timeout has been called by the Sooners. 9:44 left in our ball game. Third down and 10. Jones, great protection, ball thrown complete and knocked out of bounds at the 27-yard line is Ryan Broyles. And boy, that's a big one right there. And that was a really nice pitch and catch. He was right on it.
And Broyles, of course, had that amazing play against Kansas State last week. After a 1st and 45, they found themselves at 3rd and 24. Made a short catch, made a couple of guys missed, and picked up 25 yards for a key third down conversion. Maybe the offensive play of the year for Oklahoma, because Kansas State was nipping at their heels the entire second half.
Previous play is under further review. Ruling on the field is first down.
They're reviewing the spot. First review of the night for us. Now let's see where the ball is when he gets hit. Now this is the one where we should really be able to see it. I think they'll uphold the call on the field.
Ruling on the field stands. First down.
Right, and when they say it stands, it means there was not indisputable video evidence to overturn it. I believe that was the right review, and I think the right thing to review it, because you get to 4th down and have a big decision for Oklahoma.
3 wide receivers to the top of your screen, which is the right. Murray. They try him right up the middle, and it's going to be not real long. Turner on the tackle. Well, Ron Franklin along with Ed Cunningham coming to you tonight from Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska. The annual matchup between the Sooners and the Cornhuskers. All 10 points off turnovers for Nebraska tonight. Jones over the middle, and the ball is just a little bit behind Murray. Couldn't hold on.
Well, you saw those 4th quarter numbers for Landry Jones last week against Kansas State. He was 10 for 10, and Ndamukong Suh just throws. He is just so powerful. Grabs the wrists of Jarvis Jones and just throws him into Landry Jones.
Blitz coming up the middle. Pass far sideline, incomplete. Eric Haig was the man who had the defensive play. Receiver wanted pass interference, but I don't think that was close. That was a good, tough defensive play. Ryan Broyles, the intended receiver.
And right decision here, I think, by Oklahoma to go for it on 4th down. And I think Broyles has to be your man, middle receiver
or Murray.
Top. Yep.
Or Murray. Line to make is the 17. Incomplete to Nell, the intended receiver, and he wound up and threw that thing with a lot of heat on it, which surprises me a little bit.
Wasn't very accurate and threw it too hard. You can be inaccurate if you throw it a little softer, but if you're going to throw the heat, it's got to be right on the money, and he overthrew to Nell. But the reason I think this was the right decision, not great field position now for Nebraska. And they haven't been able to do much offensively at all. 128 total yards. So Bob Stoops, of course, very comfortable putting his defense back on the field.
Let's take a break. Huskers still lead by 7. And we are back. And a reminder, stay tuned for the Ford wrap-up after the ball game. Hello, big opening. Has 5, has 10, counted off at about 12 yards. Sam Proctor finally tripped him up.
good job by the two linebackers, Travis Lewis and Austin Box. They both just run in and bury themselves. We saw that a little bit against Miami. If there's one weakness of this Oklahoma defense, occasionally their linebackers just run up and bury themselves instead of playing the gap they're supposed to.
This is Helu, breaks it outside, and he's going to be very close to another first down. Proctor again defensively will get the number as far as the tackle. Missed it by a couple of yards, but it's a gain of 8. And now that clock will really start to zoom down as we're about to go under 8 minutes to play.
And that's Bobby Jack Wright, the defensive back coach, talking to Proctor. Not happy of how he filled on that run game. When those linebackers bury, the safeties have to be there to fill the gap.
Helu is loose again and going to be ridden out of bounds by Jonathan Nelson, but not before he reaches a 24-yard run.
What a difference maker Helu is when he's healthy. Bang that shoulder.
That's Jackson.
Yeah, missed it. He didn't gather his feet. Came in there, thought he was going to get a knockout shot for a tackle for loss. But Helu, you know, he felt maybe just tired. But remember, he's got that shoulder. Doesn't look like he fell on it. Maybe just tired after a couple long runs. Can't blame him.
And this is Robinson, the freshman who was coming to ball game number 27, replacing Helu, giving him a breather, and Quentin Carter made the stop on him.
Well, and the way you've pounded it now, if I'm Sean Watson, I would think of a play action pass. Because remember, Proctor came over, got yelled out about not helping enough on the run. So now the safeties, you've got to think, are going to be up on their toes, ready to come downhill. Run a little play action and see if you can't get those safeties down and get one to maybe Niles Paul over the top on a post.
Marcel Jones coming out of the ball game and was met by the trainers. I don't know if he is shaken up. Well, it appears he is. I was going to say either that or visibly has blood someplace on his body, which means he has to go to the sideline and get cleaned up.
And Marcel's been battling a shoulder injury, as has Ricky Henry, the right guard, as has the left guard Keith Williams. This has been a banged up bunch.
2nd down and 10. And they go with Robinson and a couple of yards, and that's it. ABC Tuesday, the #1 new drama on television, has arrived. ABC's V. Over 18 million viewers welcomed the visitors from beyond. Don't miss a second of the series. Critics are calling electrifying, stunning, and instantly addictive. ABC's V. All new on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Central on ABC.
And now I think you just run this because you're right in Alex Henry's wheelhouse as your kicker, and you can make this a 2-score game. Don't turn it over.
Helu. And he will take it to around the 26. That will mean 33, about a 43-yard field goal as Jonathan Nelson filled the gap and made the tackle. Helu 138 yards rushing tonight. The rest of the team 1.
And here comes Alex Henry, who has hit 25 straight from inside 50. Bo Pelini says this guy is so cool under pressure.
Going to put it down as I thought at the 33, so a 43-yard attempt. Good pass, and he missed it. He pushed that thing to the right, and it is still a 1-score ball game. Well, let's take a look at tonight's Southwest Airlines playbook.
Well, this is just wonderful cornerback play by Prince Amakamura. He is one-on-one outside against Tunnell. And he bangs him at the top of his route, which is totally legal, and redirects him, and he stays right on his hip. And as soon as he sees him, the quarterback, Jones, throw the in cut, he cuts right in front of Tunnell. But it was that first contact that allowed him to get on his inside hip, and that was a wonderful play. The only touchdown in the game was set up because Amakamura got it down to the 2-yard line. What a wonderful play.
Murray in motion. Jones keeps it, looking deep. Got single coverage, and the ball is incomplete. Tunnell, the intended receiver, And I'll tell you what, the jump was timed perfectly. Amukamara was there, and he got a hand on it.
Well, Carl Pelini has been trying to get Amukamara to figure out how good he really is. A guy who was a wide receiver when this staff got here. And they've been trying to work on his confidence, say, you're good enough to be an elite corner. It looks like he's starting to turn that corner.
2nd down and 10, 5:26 remaining. Huskers 10-3. Jones's pass caught in the flat at the 30, and Dewan Miller, did he get out of bounds? They're going to place it down at the 31 as Dennard was the defender who came over to make the play.
Well, and you feel a sense of urgency. It feels like this may be Oklahoma's last chance.
Well, that clock is still running, and that's the reason I asked, did he get out of bounds? And the official said no. 3rd down. 4 of 16 are the Sooners, and make it 5 of 17 as the pass was caught, and he'll pick up the 1st down. Matt Weiner, let's check in with you in New York. All right, Matt. Crucial drive for the Sooners. Clock down to 4:35. Jones looking and throws it complete to Miller. Breaks the tackle at the 45, and he's going to take it all the way across midfield. That will move the chains.
Well, Dewan Miller is turning into what these coaches expected. You mentioned earlier when we were there for the Baylor game, the coaches said we need this guy to compete. Broyles was hurt, and he's really stepped up his game.
Jones looking long, and he well overthrows this one. Broyles, the intended receiver. You know, Miller at 6'4", 224. We jokingly said when we saw him, he is all airport material because he is a great-looking player. But he also was a 400-meter hurdler.
And champion state of New Jersey. That's no joke.
No, that's a lot of great competition he went up against. It's also a gutsy race. Got to be a tough kid mentally.
Watch for Broyles in that slot.
Gets it across to Hanna, and number 82 Hanna will take it to just inside the 45-yard line, and again it brings up 3rd down, and this time 3rd down and 6. And Ed, like in golf, this is like 8- and 10-foot putts.
Yep.
You're putting yourself in a position where you're not going to make them all.
No, and I think you're going to go for it if you don't get it on 4th. So
good point.
Maybe something like a corner route with a slant from the outside receiver. See if you can't get one.
Boy, and a flag goes down for movement.
Wow. Correction, I said if you don't make it on 4th. If you don't make it on 3rd, I think you'd go for it on 4th. And now with a 3rd and 10, maybe the thinking is you want to pick up 6-7 yards. You don't necessarily have to get the 1st. So now you bring in a draw or a screen. I don't know if you want to be running a draw with this defensive line. So look for possibly a wide receiver screen or a late screen to Murray, who's in the backfield.
And again with a blitz off to corner, and the passer is hit as he throws, and a late flag has come in from deep in center field.
Yeah, I think they're getting no handling for holding on Ryan Broyles.
Yeah, what Bo was saying, that thing hit in section 314. So if it's defensive holding,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But if it's pass interference, then the head coach is going to be angry again. That's what they're calling. Whoa. And these are smart enough football fans here, as are the Oklahoma fans when you're playing down in Norman.
There it is there. The ball's in the air. But he's throwing it to the outside. Yeah, they've got to wave that off. And the officials they're gathered. I think they're going to wave this off. That ball was uncatchable by anybody on the field. It certainly was uncatchable by Ryan Broyles. He was not even the intended receiver.
Let me tell you something. I think what he did, though, I think they made the wrong call. That should have been, I mean, he was holding.
Yep. There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
And as long as it's holding, the penalty's going to stand. But pass interference, that thing could not have been caught by anybody on the field.
No, but remember, uncatchable doesn't matter in a defensive holding.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
And that looked to me like the right call. It's if the defender grabs and holds on while the ball's not in the air, it's holding. It looked like it was right on the edge. And I know they're booing, but I think that was the right call.
Now Nebraska 10 penalties for 101 yards. But they're leading by 7 and holding on just barely. We got 3:38 left in this ball game. 1st and 10 from the 39. Pass in the flat, got Broyles again, and he steps out of bounds. Maybe a little bit quicker than he wanted to. Steps out at the 34.
And if I were Kevin Wilson, I'd go right back to this play, maybe over to the left. They've had Ryan Broyles on that speed outcut every single time. Now he's over here to the left. Go right back to it.
Pressure up the middle, hit as the ball is thrown, and it's almost intercepted by O'Hanlon, who went diving for it, and had he picked it off, that would have been number 3 for him tonight.
Well, and that is Dennard, who's getting up injured. Looks like he may have hurt his shoulder.
Sure does. Yeah. Sure does. Look at the pressure from Sue right here. He will collide with the quarterback just enough to speed him up. And Sue has gone down.
Yep.
Sue went down, and he's holding his hamstring.
You know, I wonder if he didn't catch a cramp. That's what it looked like O'Hanlon had, because he just, as he was going to line up, he was talking to Crick. Just spun around, and that thing looked like it seized up on him, and he went down
That's
quickly.
Exactly what happened. And then you can see that Crick is pointing to the ground and screaming to the official to give him a timeout.
And now on a 3rd down, because of the incomplete pass, you've got one-on-one down here at the bottom. Watch for possibly a slant as O'Hanlon walks over to try to take that away.
Steinkuhler comes in, number 55, replacing Sue. Brown with the run. Stops short. Jared Crick steps up into the hole to make the hit on him.
And because it was 3rd and short and Sue comes back in, they had it down where they could run it because they knew they were going on 4th down. I still think you go with that slant and maybe look for it again with Broyles in the slot.
Here's the situation. 10-3. Nebraska. 2:50 left in our ball game. Oklahoma has not converted on a 4th down play tonight. They're 0 of 2. Play clock is down to 5. And a timeout has been called by Oklahoma.
Well, if you're Oklahoma, you're thinking Oklahoma may be calling a double slant. We saw that to Tennell earlier on that 4th down. So Carl Pelini, he's got to be talking to his defensive backs about jumping those routes. Of course, Bo Pelini has a background as a defensive back, played it in college. He's got to be telling his corners, watch the slant, get ready to jump it, because I think that's what you're going to get. I think you might get 2 slant routes over here to the left.
4th down. They need to take it to the 29-yard line. 2:38 left in the ball game. Sooners trail by a touchdown. Jones looking, pressure from the backside, and the ball is tipped and intercepted, and it's Dillard.
Could not have covered this any better. It's going to be that speed outcut again to Broyles, and Nebraska was waiting for it. The middle defensive back, that's exactly what Landry Jones was looking for. Carl Pelini knew that Kevin Wilson had that called a couple of times. They defended it perfectly, and Landry Jones had nowhere to go. That was his only read.
Crick is the man who got a hand on it. Crick tips the ball intercepted. And right now what the Huskers have to do is run 2 minutes and 25 seconds off the clock. And for Dillard, a sack already in the ball game. We'll check on how many individual tackles, but that interception is huge.
Yep. And with one timeout, Oklahoma, if Nebraska can't pick up the first down, will get this ball back somewhere in the 50-40 second range, depending on how long they take.
Carl Pelini, the defensive coordinator, look at his reaction after that intercept. And a hug for Dillard. And well, Ed told you the story earlier in the ball game that he thinks he's one of the great success stories he's ever had.
Yep. Guy who didn't get to play the first couple of games, have been demoted. They went to him, switched him over to outside linebacker, and he's just playing lights out.
Lost his mom last year. Yeah. They were tremendously close. And it just looked as though the world was not going right for him. Look at those defensive tackles over there.
And I thought we'd see the slants like we saw on the fourth down before, where Landry Jones had it open and just fired the ball high and too hard to Adrian Tennell. But it was the right defense called by Carl Pelini, because they had seen that little semi rollout where Ryan Broyles just runs a couple of steps and then bursts to the outside, and they had their middle nickelback standing there waiting for it. It was a wonderfully defended play.
I talked about the respect that these two families have for each other. Carl, who is the defensive coordinator in this game tonight, was on the staff. Finish it in just a moment. Well, the play action didn't work on the bootleg, and the tackle made by Jeremy Beal as he stayed right at home. Ron Stoops was on that same staff with him, and Ron Stoops, and Oklahoma fans I'm sure know this, but he collapsed while he was coaching on the sidelines. And Carl was one of the men who went there and saw Bob Stoops' father on the ground, and he came to for a bit. He said, "I'm fine, don't worry about me." They put him in the ambulance, and he passed away before he got to the hospital. These two families, the kids were very, very close. And as I said, Ron Stoops is the reason that the Pelini brothers went into coaching. Hitler gets the carry. Let's go to New York. Well, they are a juggernaut. 47-38. Our situation 10-3. Nebraska on top, and the clock has just gone under 1 minute to play. But this is the formation that every coach in the world loves to see. Well, they're going to punt. It's not going to be the victory formation. And the key plays in the game tonight.
Mukamara with the interception led to the only touchdown. O'Hanlon, one interception on an overthrow. O'Hanlon, two interceptions on an overthrow. And then the tip pass. And Dillard comes up with a huge play, but because there was enough time on the clock, Oklahoma used their one timeout. Now Oklahoma's going to get the ball back, and because of Ndamukong Suh and Crick and all those guys up front, I think Oklahoma is going to have to move the pocket almost every time, because without a timeout you take a sack and that can end the ball game. So look for Oklahoma when they come out, move the pocket, get out of the way of that rush. Do not allow 93 and 94 to take over the middle of your offensive line and end this game. And Oklahoma looking like they're rushed. They've come close a couple of times tonight.
Well, the Gunners for Nebraska are in tight to help block. Here comes the snap, and he gets the kick away. Wobbly driving spiral taken by Broyles at the 16. Gets a block. Comes to the sideline. Gets another block. And steps out of bounds on the near sideline.
Wow. What an electric player. All of a sudden, listen to this crowd. They just, everything was just taken out of them with that return.
You know why some are booing, though? A block just like they were penalized for a block of it, did not get called on the sideline.
Right.
There were a chorus of boos that went up.
Now, if you're Landry Jones, you have to know you cannot take a sack. Throw it away. You have no timeouts, and if it goes before the sticks, you better get up there quick.
41 seconds left in the ball game. Jones over the middle, and the ball is tipped.
I believe that was Barry Turner who got a hand up. There was a stunt on that side. And they had Broyles. Broyles, if he would have caught that, may have picked up some yardage. He had a step and a half on his man.
Previous play is under review.
Are they reviewing the punt? No, didn't look like to me his left foot was. The right foot came back on that track, and maybe they. It looked like when it was live speed that he may have stepped out of bounds to me, but they were trying to blow the whistle. Nope, he's in there. In there. So I think that play is going to stand as called. So they'll have it at the 49, and they'll replay first down, and they'll have to reset the clock to 41 seconds. The back judge was running up when that play was going. I think he was trying to blow his whistle to get that stopped before they snapped it, because obviously you have to get the review in before the next play. And I think there may have been some communication problems between the officials to get it stopped before Oklahoma snapped it.
So 41 seconds showing on the clock. And the Huskers continue to lead by 7 points. And Oklahoma with still one more chance, one more shot.
And I really don't think you want anything in the middle of the field on your side of the first down marker. It's just going to take too long to get your guys back. It's going to burn too much time. So anything you throw that's inside of 10 yards needs to be near the sidelines. Otherwise, it needs to be down the field. Now, that means if you've got those down the field routes, the pass rush for Nebraska comes in.
Previous play was under review to see if the kick returner stepped out of bounds. He did not. We were paged prior to the snap. It'll be first down, 41 seconds on the clock.
Well, an extra down, and the crowd does not like it. But the hurry-up offense, that's what it creates. But also, that's the reason officials have whistles.
Yep. Yeah, they should have been blowing them like crazy. I agree.
Crowd coming to life. Sue with the hit, and the ball almost intercepted, and that was O'Hanlon. O'Hanlon almost came up with another pick.
Well, you just can't stand in the pocket. You've got to move this pocket some. You cannot block Ndamukong Suh. You bring a back in. You've got to start chipping this guy. He's too good to try to block him with one lineman. You've got to get someone to help him.
This time they roll the pocket, and he puts this one airborne, and it is intercepted at the 6-yard line, and it is O'Hanlon with his third. Well, O'Hanlon just threw the ball as far as he could in the air, and kind of like the rule against Jake Locker in the Washington play with his exuberance. It's going to cost him an unsportsmanlike.
And I think that is Josh Heupel asking Landry why.
After the interception, unsportsmanlike number 33 in Nebraska. A penalty enforced half the distance. First down.
Well, I'm not quite sure. Landry Jones is throwing this like it's the last play of the game. He's got 3 receivers on the top, and they roll it out, finally get away from it. Everybody's running vertical. It's all deep routes. They had nobody running a intermediate route. You had plenty of time. You had time for 4 or 5 plays at least. Just not sure why you go for what looked like a Hail Mary throw with 28 seconds left.
Well, he'll have to take one knee. He goes forward. That's the last play of the ball game. Oklahoma cannot stop the clock. And the Nebraska Cornhuskers are going to win a ball game that they were underdogs in, but that's happened many times in this series. You see the 2 very good friends shaking hands and then moving back to be with their teams. And some of these Husker fans looking on in wonderment because there were questions with what happened with the offense at times tonight. But this defense, as we suggested off the top of the telecast, was capable of winning the ball game for them.
It all came down to turnovers. All points for Nebraska off of turnovers.
Once again, our final score is Nebraska 10 and Oklahoma 3. Now for Ed Cunningham, I'm Ron Franklin saying so long from Lincoln, Nebraska. Now let's go to John Saunders in Times Square for the Ford wrap-up.